Being a doormat never ends well. He warned me about it when I first started chasing Marcus. But after 2 years, I was still the only one left by his side. I confessed my feelings to him solemnly again, and he sighed. Let's try. 3 months into trying, he broke up with me and seamlessly moved on to the next person. Calls on every platform, and he added me back on text messages. He called me on video. On the messy bed, a woman's glowing white arm was covered in hickeys. Marcus's face was obscured by smoke, and he asked me in a hoarse voice, "Do you want to hear it?" The details of my time with her. It's always interesting to see how far this story will go. How would you rate this story, from 0 to 10? If you like it, you can subscribe. A playboy can never turn back. He's just playing around during his single periods, only you are foolish enough to keep falling for it. I'd heard these words countless times during the years I chased Marcus. They were right. A week after we broke up, Marcus lay in another woman's bed and called me on video. He asked me in an impatient tone, "Grace, do you insist on making a fool of myself? So, she's the reason you broke up with me?" "Pretty much. I've fallen for her." Marcus adjusted the camera, pointing it at his face. "Grace, don't look at me with that 'I'm sorry for you' look. If I really wanted to hurt you, I wouldn't have needed to break up with you before getting with her. It was just a trial. You slept with me, what else are you not satisfied with?" Some people do indeed measure love by sex. My love for Marcus, in the end, was nothing but a joke. My tears hit the screen. Marcus's face blurred, leaving only his soft, indifferent voice. "We're going to continue. If you want to listen, then just listen like this." He was sure I wouldn't dare, but he still amplified the sounds of their breathing. When the woman's seductive sounds came through, I hung up the video call with trembling hands. I rushed into the bathroom and threw up until I was dizzy. I stared at my pale reflection in the mirror. I forced an ugly smile. "It's been 2 years, Grace, you should wake up now." After that night, I didn't try to contact Marcus again. At first, I just wanted an answer. I timed it perfectly, returning on his birthday and buying him a belt with a month's salary. He held it, turning it over in his hands for a long time, then gently kissed me. Then he looked into my eyes and said, "Grace, let's break up." I didn't even get a chance to hysterically ask him why. He left while I was still stunned. The belt I bought him was tied around his current girlfriend's wrist. Marcus deliberately made sure I saw it, choking back all my questions. We were all friends. So even after the breakup, no matter how much I didn't want to see him, it was unavoidable. Michael waited a year, and his new home was finally renovated. For his housewarming party, he invited a few close friends. I timed it precisely, but still, I ran into Marcus in the elevator. Or rather, he was standing there waiting for me. Wrapped in a black coat that accentuated his slender frame, Marcus leaned lazily against the wall, hands in his pockets. Someone entered the elevator, tilted their head out, and called to him, "Handsome, aren't you coming in?" Seeing it was a beautiful woman, Marcus smiled and pointed at me, "I'm waiting for someone." I'd known Marcus for 2 years, and from the moment I first fell for him until now, he hadn't changed. He was always the same mess. One time, after getting drunk, I mockingly asked him with some resentment, "Marcus, can't you learn to sleep alone?" He raised an eyebrow in surprise, not dodging the question, and stated directly, "Grace, have you fallen for me?" Marcus narrowed his eyes slightly, a prelude to his anger. "Grace, I told you not to develop feelings for me. Couldn't we just be good friends?" My eyes were hazy, and I asked with some reluctance, "Why?" He lit a cigarette irritably, but his tone was very serious. "I don't want to hurt you. But the torment of unrequited love, the agonizing pain that clawed at my heart day and night, unfolded once he stated his feelings. Marcus would probably never taste that feeling in his life. That's why he told me, 'Grace, have some backbone. Why would a good girl like you be a doormat? Only those who can successfully fawn over someone deserve to be called doormats.' Someone like me was just making a fool of myself." After we started dating, I half-jokingly, half-seriously told him, "Marcus, I'm actually the one getting the short end of the stick. I've only been in one relationship, and you've had who knows how many women stay over at your place." He pinched my face, and although he was smiling, it was clear he was annoyed. "Grace, dating doesn't always mean sleeping together. Isn't a playboy precisely because they have a deceptive mouth?" I didn't look at Marcus, trying to squeeze into the elevator, but he pulled me to his front with one hand. "Still mad? Don't touch me." I reacted strongly, shaking off his hand and stepping back. Marcus's hand remained in midair. What do you mean? It means I find you disgusting. Marcus always pretended to be confused when he understood perfectly well. So we can't even be friends anymore? Is that all this is about? It wasn't uncommon to hear that from him. He changed girlfriends frequently, mostly breaking up over trivial matters. She was too dramatic. She was too clingy. She was too possessive. Marcus's affections came and went quickly. I had fantasized that we might be different, and I comforted myself that it didn't matter, at least we had been together. I wouldn't regret it when I looked back. When tried to advise me, I just shrugged and smiled. Sleeping with him is my obsession. Maybe once I do, I won't be so fixated. Marcus overheard that, and he fulfilled my dream that very night. I originally wanted to take things slow, but it seems you weren't very sincere. Was that passion you showed me just an act? I was putting on a false pretense for the sake of appearances, but Marcus had never been sincere. Fine. Marcus stared at my tightly pursed lips and sneered, Grace, you're ruthless. We entered the elevator one after the other. The 20th floor was too high. He kept looking at me in the mirror, and I quietly looked back. Marcus touched my hand. That night, I didn't mean it like that. Clinging. There's no need, Grace. It was good like before, wasn't it? Marcus, I didn't hang up the video call that night. I listened to the whole thing. He froze. I forced a sarcastic smile. You humiliated me like that and still expect me to act like nothing happened and be friends again? Marcus, you're used to it, but I can't do it. Every time I see you, I'll remember you tying something I gave you to another woman's hand. You use me in your games. Don't you find yourself disgusting? The elevator stopped on the 20th floor. Marcus followed behind me, his face grim. I composed myself, lifted my hand to knock, but Marcus grabbed my hand and pressed me against the door. Grace, you didn't have the courage to listen. That's just the kind of person I am, and I warned you early on. I tried, but if there's no feeling, there's no feeling. If you insist on being like this, fine. Marcus, don't lack you as a friend. But you, don't come back later pestering me, saying you regret it. Marcus let go of me just before the door opened. Michael was sharp-eyed. He saw my slightly red eyes and my lips bitten red. He punched Marcus on the shoulder. You punk, you used to hide and not dare to show your face, and now you can't even behave in an elevator, can you? Marcus's face remained cold, and he didn't respond. I walked in indifferently. I casually dropped 3 words, we broke up long ago. The room instantly fell silent. Several pairs of eyes stared over at us. Michael raised his hand and heavily punched Marcus in the abdomen. Unlike his previous playful jab, this punch had real force. It's only been a few months? Marcus, are you using the same tactics you used on other women against Grace? Do you have a heart, damn it? Marcus cursed under his breath, his voice strained. If you hadn't foolishly tried to set us up, this wouldn't have happened. If you like someone, you like them. If you don't, you don't. I was doing it for her own good, damn it. Dating wasn't suitable for friends. Taking anyone's side wouldn't be fair. I stood there, clenching my hands tightly. Wen came over and took my arm, my nose stung with unshed tears. She pressed my head to her shoulder, and the usually gentle person unusually lost her temper. If you didn't like her, you shouldn't have agreed in the first place. And if you agreed and want to separate, you should do it gracefully for both sides. Marcus shook off Michael's hand and walked to the dining table, downing a few gulps of alcohol. Actually, confessing to everyone wasn't out of spite. Even if we didn't say anything, our state would reveal what had happened. Michael and Sarah's housewarming party couldn't be ruined because of us. I forced a smile. Michael, Sarah, it's not a big deal. We can handle it ourselves. I sat at the farthest spot from Marcus. He was different from me. He had known everyone for a long time, especially Michael. They had been to the same schools from high school through college. Michael had told me that Marcus was loyal to his friends, but when it came to relationships, influenced by his parents, he might never settle down. As for me, I came to this city 2 years ago with nothing. Michael had been a benefactor to me. He introduced me to Marcus's bar. Later, when I told him I thought I was falling for Marcus, he sighed deeply. Why did you have to fall for the one person you absolutely shouldn't? I tried hard to bring up a new topic. Marcus was nursing a drink. Actually, all the sadness had come crashing down that night. After a severe emotional breakdown, it wasn't as heart-wrenching anymore. I had experienced it, so there wasn't much regret. Sarah showed me a video of Michael proposing to her when he was drunk, completely out of it, hugging and kissing a tree. I burst out laughing. Marcus suddenly put his glass down hard and picked a piece of vegetable from the spicy dish. Michael had just started to say, "You." He choked, his face turning beet red, and called my name, Grace. Years ago, Marcus had damaged his stomach from drinking and couldn't eat spicy food. He was greedy, always sneaking a few bites when we ate together. Every time, I'd have water ready, waiting to eagerly offer it when he coughed. Often, I'd move the water away halfway through. Marcus would grab my wrist and look at me, narrowing his eyes. Perhaps he was just used to flirting, but I always enjoyed those moments. Falling in love with the wrong person shouldn't come with much expectation to begin with. The smile on my lips instantly fell, and I coldly looked back. "Is there something you need?" He watched me drink a few gulps of alcohol. He stood up and picked up his coat from the chair. "Nothing. You haven't finished dinner, why are you leaving?" Michael stopped him. We all knew Michael's personality. He'd definitely want to have a serious talk with us after dinner. Marcus sometimes pinched my nose and complained, "If I ever dared to wrong you, he'd definitely kill me." "Would you?" I truly wanted to know the answer. Marcus met my gaze and smiled. "No. Grace, you're different from them. Even if I wanted to break up, I wouldn't hurt you." Seamlessly moving on, calling to humiliate me, Marcus chose the most hurtful way to do it. Before that night, we hadn't even had a single argument. Even said that maybe Marcus was finally settling down because of me. Because I couldn't accept it, I went crazy trying to get an explanation. Marcus shook his phone. "Girlfriend's calling. You broke up with Grace and immediately found a new girlfriend." Michael's anger finally erupted. Marcus said nothing. I didn't know why he still had to bring it up. I froze in my seat. What kind of jerk is that? Michael shoved Marcus out. "Get out. If I ever see you again, I'll cripple you." The dinner turned out like this. I also didn't have the face to stay. Sarah was worried about me and wanted me to stay over. I joked, "I'm afraid Michael will come in and kill me in the middle of the night." He laughed and cursed, "You get out too." But when he walked me to the door, he couldn't help but get teary-eyed and apologized. "Grace, if I had tried harder to stop you back then, it wouldn't have come to this. It has nothing to do with you. We all know what kind of person Marcus is. We just wanted to take a chance. Anyway, I got what I wanted. I'm not upset, Michael." I smiled, but Michael wouldn't look at me, asking in a low voice, "In the future, with him, let's just be strangers." Marcus didn't come to the bar for a whole week. Of course, it wasn't to avoid me. His assistant said he had gone abroad with his girlfriend to a concert. He stammered when he spoke, his face flushed red. Marcus guessed I would look for him. He was used to being admired. There were plenty of ex-girlfriends who made a scene trying to get back with him. A bar owner, with an assistant and bodyguards, to say he was flashy was just because these kinds of things happened too often. I stood by the bar, and the bartender asked me, "Are you here to get back with him or to break up for good?" I took the drink from his hand. "What do you think?" He raised an eyebrow. "I'd guess a clean break. He's not even clocking in. No matter what, he shouldn't be letting money slip away, right?" Marcus was a laid-back person. There was no set number of days he had to work a month. If he had something to do, he could not come in, and he could leave any time. Out. I chuckled softly. At 10, Marcus still hadn't returned, meaning he wasn't coming back. Just as I was abo to leave, I turned and saw him slowly enter the bar, hands in his pockets. Behind him was a woman, pulling at his sleeve. "Marcus, what do you mean? Break up. Don't you understand?" Marcus frowned, his eyes swept over, paused for a moment, and then a strange smile played on his lips. The woman tried to say something else, but he gripped her wrist tightly, forcing her to let go. "Are you going to leave by yourself, or should I have someone throw you out?" I wasn't interested in this drama. I averted my gaze, and the bartender suddenly whispered in my ear, "Grace, aren't you actually the one who has Marcus wrapped around your finger?" His words were puzzling. When reached out to block between us, his hand brushed my ear, and I instinctively frowned and pulled away. He gave me a cold look and started to go upstairs without a word. "Marcus, let's talk. Come up." Before I could utter another word, his figure vanished around the staircase corner. When I reached the door, Marcus was undressing with his back to me. I leaned against the door. "I'm quitting." Marcus, not even putting on his pajamas, froze for several seconds, then sat on the edge of the bed and lit a cigarette. Marcus, rest assured, I won't ask you to get back together. I walked in, lifted his chin, looked from side to side at the face that had captivated me and made me lose my dignity, then harshly flung it away. I transferred my bar shares to Michael, quitting is just a formality. Marcus, with a cigarette in his mouth, grabbed my waist, narrowed his eyes. So, you came here for a farewell hookup? I bent down. His eyelashes actually trembled. How disgusting. I slapped him across the face. The cigarette fell onto his lap. He looked up, and I slapped him again. Marcus pushed out his cheek. Symmetrical slap marks appeared on his clean face. I patted it, with you as a cautionary tale. From now on, I'll be sure to keep my eyes wide open when I meet people. If there's even a shred of resemblance to you, Marcus, I'll walk the other way. Feel better after hitting me? Marcus grabbed my hand and smiled. Are you over it now? He squeezed harder, his hand trembling slightly. Grace, can we be friends again? No. I really couldn't understand Marcus. After breaking up, he was afraid I'd cling to him, yet he insisted on forcing me to be friends again. After such an ugly scene, how could we possibly be friends? I told Michael not to invite me to any events where you'll be present. Marcus, I won't forgive you. Even if you beg for forgiveness, I won't. This possibility was almost zero. I shook off his hand. Of course, you wouldn't either. So let's just go back to how we were 2 years ago, when we didn't know each other. Don't even say hello if we meet on the street. Grace. Marcus called out to me. I didn't turn around, nor did I stop walking. He called my name louder, but the last 2 sentences were very quiet. What if that night, I didn't touch her? Could you forgive me? Didn't you listen to the whole thing? Then you should know, she and I were just putting on an act. Marcus closed the half-open door and leaned against it, his breath just inches from me. I stared at his face, my mind blank. Marcus never lied, nor did he deign to lie. Why? Because I wanted to break up with you, but you loved me too much, so I could only use this method. Marcus, what makes you so conceited? What makes you think I'd definitely cling to you? He didn't answer my question. He lowered his head and forcefully lifted my chin. Grace, let's be friends again. Mr. Marcus, I don't understand why you insist on being friends with me. This strange address made Marcus's face instantly turn cold. Marcus was indeed a young master, but one unloved by his parents. Have an affair, have an affair. Later, they stopped hiding it and brought other partners home. Marcus was just starting high school when he had 3 younger siblings. Michael said his parents were half responsible for him becoming the way he was now. I knew a person like him was off limits. When I realized I liked him, I wanted to hit his head. I avoided him, and when Marcus couldn't find me, he'd go find Michael. At that time, Michael had already figured it out and responded sarcastically, Grace is such an innocent girl, don't drag her into your messes. Michael was upright and conventional, having a long-term relationship with Sarah. He disapproved of Marcus's behavior, yet he felt sorry for him, sharp tongue but a kind heart. Mentioning Marcus was like he was raising a problematic son, worried he would go down the wrong path. Marcus had heard plenty of unpleasant things, but for some reason, this particular comment stuck with him. Grace, do you find me disgusting too? When we met again, he was so blunt I was speechless. The cigarette in Marcus's hand was crushed. I'm just affectionate, not promiscuous. Grace, don't despise me. He genuinely considered me a friend, but I, upon seeing his vulnerability, developed true feelings. We couldn't be lovers. And now, not even friends. Marcus, thank you for waking me up in such a cruel way. I don't love you at all anymore, truly. Marcus clenched his fists. I went to pull the door. He stood rigidly for a moment, then moved aside. Marcus, you're fine the way you are. If you don't truly love anyone, no one can hurt you. Since you've asked so many times, I can tell you very clearly, I won't have anything to do with you ever again. Is it because you're angry, or do you genuinely not want to? We were both stubborn. Some answers were obvious, yet we insisted on finding an excuse. I sighed, being angry is true, and not wanting to is also true. Outside the bar, the woman was still standing by the road. She held a card in her hand. She was on the phone. He gave me $200,000 after just a week of dating. No wonder Marcus's ex-girlfriends can't bear to leave him. The person on the other end said something, and she scoffed. Try what? I too came my clothes off, and he called his ex-girlfriend to break up on video, then went into the bathroom right after hanging up. His ex-girlfriend was unlucky too. Getting involved with someone like that is foolish. I rubbed my cold hands together. There was no warmth at all. Don't play with feelings with a playboy, you can't win against him at his own game. If he wants to break up, he can find hundreds of reasons. Watching her get into a man's car, I felt a moment of disorientation. You play me, I play you. Those who indulge in pleasure are effortlessly adept, while only those who truly opened their hearts and dreamed a beautiful dream for themselves ended up suffering. After that day, we never saw each other again. Even news of him became increasingly rare. For wedding, I sat at the southernmost end, and Marcus sat at the northernmost end. During the bouquet toss, we inevitably saw each other. I calmly stood at the farthest position from him, but I unexpectedly caught Sarah's bouquet. I held it in a daze. Sarah came over and hugged me tightly. Good girl, it looks like you'll meet your soulmate very soon. When in love, I followed my heart and didn't think too much about the future. My first boyfriend was my college classmate. We dated for 4 years, every step taken seriously. He also followed the trend and bought a Dior ring, meant to be given to only one person in a lifetime. That relationship was innocent and sincere. We loved each other deeply, yet after graduation, we went our separate ways due to our respective futures. As for Marcus, it goes without saying. I don't think anyone would think about marriage when dating him. A person like him should be a playboy forever. Michael's remark, seemingly a joke, was actually the truth. People around started to tease, asking what kind of person I wanted to marry, wanting to set me up. I smiled and replied, then I want someone like Michael, who won't fight back if hit, won't talk back if cursed at, gentle, considerate, obedient, clean. Honestly, I didn't think too much when I said those 2 words. I no longer dared to love someone as emotionally volatile as Marcus. But everyone's gaze turned towards Marcus standing nearby. He stared at me, a cold sneer playing on his lips. Michael put his arm around Sarah and turned, positioning himself between us. He made a joke. Well, I think that boyfriend you dated in college was pretty good. Why don't you give him a call and rekindle things? Throughout the entire wedding, Marcus and Michael barely exchanged a few words. He, who should have been a groomsman, merely stood quietly in the crowd. Finding an opening, I still asked, Michael, you and Marcus, did you fall out because of me? I hesitated, and Michael denied. I sold all my bar shares to Marcus. The bar was opened by Michael, Marcus, and one of his friends. Marcus was the majority owner with 60%. After I got together with him, he gave me 10%. Over the years, Michael rarely participated in the bar's decisions. Opening new branches and projects were all decided by Marcus and his friend, who then simply informed him. Michael had suggested transferring his shares to Marcus. He refused. I feel secure with you around, and you can just collect your dividends without worry. What was transferred was not just shares, but brotherhood. I lowered my gaze, my eyes stinging. Michael patted my shoulder. Grace, I know very well what I'm doing. You're part of the reason, but not the whole reason. He told me how you and Marcus broke up. Can you believe he talked about something so shameless as if it was perfectly normal? I've always tried to pull Marcus back to a normal life, to normal dating and marriage. Among the girls he hurt, there were many who truly loved him. Grace. Michael smiled helplessly. You might not believe it, but he really put the most effort into you. Michael told me something. For your first birthday after you moved here, Sarah gave you a Lego set. You said it was too hard, and Marcus called you stupid, then took it home and put it together for you. He didn't sleep all night. I asked him why he couldn't wait a few days to give it to you, and he said it was so you would remember his kindness. Michael sighed heavily, his voice tinged with sadness. You weren't even together then. Marcus didn't need anyone to remember his good deeds. It was because of that incident that I thought you two might actually have a future. Grace, I don't know what he's thinking. What he did hurt your heart, and it hurt ours too. Sarah is afraid that one day he might do the same to me, but I don't think so. Michael was silent for a long time, looking out into the night. As he left, he self-deprecatingly added, but who can really say? Marcus left very early. When I got home, he was sitting dejectedly by the door, his usually well-groomed hair a mess. I opened the door, and he grabbed my pant leg. Grace. Marcus looked up, his eyes rimmed red. My heart twinged. Did I do something wrong? I gripped the doorknob tightly, then let go. What was there to say? Everyone was at fault. I shouldn't have broken our friendship, and he shouldn't have ended things so brutally. But at this point, what else could be said? Marcus hit his head against the wall several times, then suddenly asked seriously, "If I beg for forgiveness, will you forgive me?" Hearing the coaxing and pleading in his voice, my nose stung terribly. "Marcus, there's no going back. This is how we are now." He turned his face away, a tear fell from his eye, and he swayed as he stood up. "Will you get back together with your ex-boyfriend? It has nothing to do with you. Is he good? Better than you?" Marcus stopped asking. He pressed the elevator button, watching the numbers climb one by one. I couldn't suppress the urge. "Why did you have to do it that way? Why couldn't you just say it properly? We could have parted gracefully. Now that it's turned out like this, who can truly let go years from now?" That's why I said. Marcus looked deeply at me. "I messed up, Grace. Marcus and I, this was truly it." Michael and the others were still the same, though sometimes he would remark to me that things weren't quite the same anymore. Marcus had distanced himself quite a bit from them. No matter what, we couldn't go back to how things used to be. I blamed myself for a long time, wondering if being brave in love was a false premise. Even if you don't aim for a good outcome, it shouldn't result in this current situation where everyone has a barrier between us. Suppressing those feelings and just being friends would have been so much better. We could have dealt with each other openly. Michael found this amusing. Even gods lose their reason when it comes to love, let alone humans. Later, Marcus and I mutually avoided each other and never met again. Several months passed. Nearing my hometown was hit by a flood. I had just started a new company recently. When I saw the news, I called my parents for half an hour straight, but no one answered. I was desperate. My boss happened to be out for a business meeting, so I only had time to take time off via email. I felt awkward asking colleagues to take over my work. Everyone looked at me, but no one responded. I suddenly remembered that a year after arriving in this city, I was unjustly fired and repeatedly hit dead ends looking for work. I was walking in a daze when I got clipped by Michael's car. In that instant, all the pressure and pain slid down with my tears. Michael was at a loss, but Marcus calmly wiped away my tears, picked me up, put me in the car, and popped a candy into my mouth. My leg was broken. Michael and Sarah took turns coming to the hospital to take care of me for half a month. Marcus never appeared again. But he would have Michael bring me bags of candy, sometimes caramel candy, sometimes sweet treats. They were sweet, the kind of things kids love, but in this unfamiliar city, I felt a long-lost kindness. Hearing that my job search wasn't going well, Michael said, "It's a high-pressure tech company, incredibly competitive now. Marcus's bar still needs an accountant, you just need to handle the money." He added, "That handsome guy who carried you to the hospital that day." Of course I remembered. I'll probably never forget it my whole life. When you're down and out, even a single candy can be remembered for so long. I forced a smile and explained that my family's calls weren't going through. A colleague beside me sighed, "Give it to me, I'll finish it for you." I bought the earliest flight. After landing, the phone still couldn't connect. I bought a house for my parents in the city, but being sentimental, they often returned to my hometown to live. It was right in the heavily hit area. As I rushed there, I prayed to heaven, wanting to cry but only able to hold back my tears again and again. I didn't see them at the relief center, and I was on the verge of collapsing. A rescue worker pulled me aside. "Little girl, don't be scared. I'll ask for you. The injured have already been transferred to the hospital by staff." I leaned against the wall, watching people come and go, when my gaze suddenly met someone I never thought I'd see again. Ethan. My breakup with Ethan had no misunderstandings, no arguments, just two people from ordinary families compromising with an uncertain future. I went north, he went south. After talking all night, we still decided to go our separate ways. We gazed at each other for a long time, until a rescue worker told me, "Girl, your dad hit his head and is at the nearest hospital." I thanked him, turned around, and Ethan followed. "I'll go with you." Once in the car, my tears couldn't be stopped. Ethan instinctively reached out, then, after a moment, lowered his head and handed me a pack of tissues from his pocket. The atmosphere couldn't just stay so tense, but with my worries, I wasn't in the mood to chat. Ethan patted my shoulder. "There's no signal here, so it's normal that calls aren't going through. The rescue came very quickly, Grace, everything will be fine. But my dad is old. For someone over 60 to hit his head, even thinking positively, things wouldn't be ideal." At the hospital, my mom saw me, clutched onto her lifeline, and instantly collapsed to the ground. The operating room light was still on. Midway through, a doctor came out and said he was brought in promptly and there were no major issues. My dad also had an angioma, but blood supply was low, so he needed blood. Ethan held me back, frowning. I'll go. Ethan and I hadn't seen each other for so many years, he couldn't donate such a large amount of blood alone. I pulled him back. I'll go too. Grace. He sighed deeply. Have you taken a good look at yourself? How thin have you become? I looked up. I hadn't really looked at Ethan all night. At that glance, my whole body instantly stiffened. Ethan had a delicate appearance with clean, bright eyes, but now those eyes were bloodshot and filled with exhaustion. There were quite a few gray hairs in his thick black hair. I froze there. By the time I regained my senses, he had already left. Grace, are you too? My mom hesitated, starting to speak but then stopping. She had met Ethan before and hadn't said whether he was good or bad, only that she wouldn't object if I thought he was good. He works here. We just met tonight. In the car, Ethan talked about himself a bit to ease my tension. He started working here half a year ago. After the flood, he helped his company deliver supplies. He was also hoping he might see me again. The hospital was crowded. After donating blood, Ethan squatted by the wall. I got some warm water for him and helped him press the wound with a cotton swab. Thank you. Ethan chuckled but didn't respond. He took small sips of water, and I stared absently at the blood-stained cotton swab. After he recovered, he pulled me up. The doctor said your dad's condition will be stable after tonight. I'll stay with you at the hospital. What about your company? On one hand, it was relief work, and on the other, it was about building a good corporate image. Ethan said he still had to write a report when he got back. He pressed his lips together tightly, silent. Ethan spoke less and seemed more subdued. From his few words, I could tell he really disliked his current job. We walked side by side, with about 2 hand-widths of space between us. He said he wanted to see me again but didn't call me. This meeting, whether it happened or not, didn't matter. He said he had something to tell me. My gaze slid over the ring on his hand. I was waiting for him to speak. Anyway, it wouldn't be words to make us both uncomfortable, so I felt a little relieved. How about I treat you to dinner tomorrow? I said, smiling, and he also smiled. I turned my head and saw Marcus, looking disheveled. The words I was about to say instantly caught in my throat. Ethan followed my gaze. He asked, "Is that your boyfriend?" I shook my head, no. Marcus called my name gently. Ethan stared at me, then gave me a push. He's looking for you. I'm going back to the patient room. Ethan's head was down, his shoulders slumped. My heart ached. I didn't know what he had been through these past few years, but no one could accept seeing someone once so vibrant and energetic reduced to this. Even his walk showed his exhaustion. Marcus walked over and blocked my view. His soaking wet hair was still dripping, and I felt in my pocket. All I found was the packet of tissues Ethan had given me. Here, wipe your hair. After he wiped his hair, he suddenly hugged me. Do you know how dangerous it was? Why did you rush here? Couldn't you have waited? Those are my parents. I couldn't remain composed. What about you, Marcus? Why did you rush here? If all the love I felt when I was with him was fake, then he was an incredible actor. It still bothered me. The reason he didn't want us to be together. He didn't say, and I didn't ask further. My heart was still tight. Ethan stayed with me in the patient room, and Marcus sat on a bench by the door. Marcus could guess who Ethan was. Ethan probably guessed too. We all maintained a tacit silence. Throughout the night, I got up several times to check on my dad. Ethan woke up and eventually pressed me back onto the folding bed. Get some sleep. I'll watch him. Thankfully, the next day, after the doctor examined him, he said my dad could be discharged in another week. A weight was lifted off my chest. Looking at the dark circles under Ethan's eyes, a bitter pang of guilt filled me. Come on, I promised to treat you to a meal. Ethan's brows were deeply furrowed, and he'd checked his phone several times that morning. Grace, I have to go. I smiled. Okay, I'll walk you out. We both gave bitter smiles. It seemed his life wasn't going well either. But I hadn't realized how truly not well it was. At the hospital entrance, Ethan tried to speak several times. He only got out one word before he was interrupted by a sudden female voice. Ethan, get in the car. The woman wore sunglasses, and her appearance and attire were impressive. Ethan walked over and said a few words to her. She glanced at me, then casually looked away. 5 minutes. That interruption seemed to make him lose his composure. I tried to sound casual as I asked, "Girlfriend?" "She's beautiful." He nodded slightly, then shook his head with an even smaller movement. "My boss's daughter." I turned my head, unable to hold back my tears. Breaking up was hard. What was harder than breaking up was seeing Ethan not doing well at all. As for me, I remember clearly even the slightest bad deed done to me. But for Ethan, I only wished him well. "Don't cry, Grace. I'm doing fine," he repeated earnestly. "Really, my mom was seriously ill at the time, and she helped me. Her temper might be a bit bad, but He's not a bad person." "Okay." I hung my head. Ethan handed me a ring box. It was the Dior ring from before, along with the platinum band I had bought for him. "Let's end this properly, Grace. You should be the one to discard them." He gave a genuine smile, raised his hand as if to hug me, but ultimately pulled his hand back. "Grace, do you look down on me?" In the past, I would have had so much to say to Ethan. He was always worrying about this and that. I used to scold him for always overthinking things. "You're no fun." Whenever I got angry, he would mimic me, "Grace, you're still not making up with me? That's just not right." I thought of a few comforting words, but before I could say them, his girlfriend honked the horn, urging him. I only had time to shake my head emphatically. "No, I don't. I don't. Just sad." Why did everyone seem to live such a messy life? Marcus didn't leave. He stayed with me until my dad was discharged. Many times, I would stare blankly at that platinum band, and he would just watch silently from the side. On the day we went home, I still hadn't thrown it away. Marcus suddenly said, "It's not as good looking as the one you bought for me." My heart skipped a beat. "What?" He simply pulled the car over. "I saw the ring you had in your clothes." His words made my mind a mess. Grace, my family life was a mess. Back then, if Michael hadn't constantly dragged me to his house, if his parents hadn't cared for me like their own son, I might have wanted to die a long time ago. Their blood flows in my veins. From the day I started indulging in romance, I knew I was just like them. If I married you, there's an 80% chance I'd cheat. And I couldn't drag you through a relationship with me for the best years of your life, only to fall for someone else and dump you in the end. Marcus stared at me. The best outcome would be if we both got tired of each other. But every time I look into your eyes, I find myself falling deeper. Grace, I don't dare to gamble. And I don't dare to drag you into that gamble with me. After he finished speaking, he turned his head away. The car sat silently. I realized Marcus was explaining why he'd come that day when I'd asked him. He was also explaining why he'd used that method to make me lose hope completely. He cared about me, but that was as far as it went. He loved me, but not enough to remain faithful for a lifetime. He kept it to himself, taking all the blame upon himself. But seeing that I still hadn't thrown away the ring I bought for Ethan, even though Ethan was such a good person, I couldn't let go. What about the pain he caused me? When would I truly be able to let go? Knowing the real reason, I didn't know whether to cry or to laugh. While I hadn't thought that far ahead, Marcus had already considered every aspect of our future. He could be a playboy his whole life. I couldn't. I was destined to live my life conventionally. He was right, I wouldn't gamble. So from the beginning, I never truly expected a specific outcome. I just liked him and wanted to be with him. If I stopped liking him later, or if he fell for someone else, he could just tell me, and we'd part ways gracefully. I had never thought that far ahead. So why would I give Marcus a ring? The ring in my clothes was Michael's. After picking up their wedding rings, Sarah's family had an emergency, so they rushed over there. As a result, a relative's kid had rummaged through his bag, and the ring was lost. Only the woman's ring was found. Michael wanted to buy a new set, but Sarah thought it was a waste of money and told him to just have a new man's ring custom made. They couldn't make it back in time, so they asked me to pick it up for them. Michael had originally intended to ask Marcus for help with this, but after considering Marcus's temperament, he decided to ask me instead. I always kept the ring in my coat, the first one in my closet. I hadn't been home for a few days, and Marcus would help me clean and organize my clothes whenever he visited. That's why he left in such a hurry on his birthday night. He was afraid that the moment he gave me the belt, I would pull out the ring and propose to him. Of course, that ring was much prettier than the one I gave Ethan. That ring cost hundreds of thousands, while the one I gave Ethan was only a few thousand. The car pulled up to my building. Neither nor I spoke. Grace, I'm sorry. After a long silence, he leaned over and unbuckled my seatbelt. I didn't mean to humiliate you. My mind was a mess at the time, and that's the only method I could think of. I genuinely want to be friends with you. Friends last longer than lovers, don't they? I turned away from his breath. I'd been thinking about it the whole way, whether or not to tell him the truth. In truth, it wasn't about the ring at all. It was just because of this ring that Marcus had overthought so much. Cheating after several years of dating, or cheating after marriage. Either of those would have caused more pain than him breaking up with me after 3 months and seamlessly moving on. By now, I didn't have anything more to say. Marcus, the ring is Michael's. I never thought we had to have a future together. I wasn't willing to plan far ahead. Likewise, I wasn't willing to dwell on the past. He sat back, lost in thought. Actually, even if he had known at the time that the ring wasn't for him, Marcus would still have broken up with me. So, it didn't matter. I got out of the car. Walking past the trash can, I threw in the ring box I'd been holding onto for days. Before I went to sleep, Marcus's car was still there. I woke up in the middle of the night, and the car was still there. I slept fitfully during the latter half of the night, waking up the moment my alarm went off. When I went to pull back the curtains, I found myself hesitating. The car was gone. I stood there for a moment. The alarm, which I hadn't turned off, rang again. Sarah's message fl. Ashed on the screen. Come over for dinner on Saturday. Marcus won't be there. I chuckled. From now on, whenever anyone looked for me, they would have to add, Marcus won't be there. And whenever they looked for Marcus, they would have to add, Grace won't be there. Marcus and I both understood that if we didn't actively avoid each other, it would just be awkward for both of us. I asked myself if I would make the same choice if I had the chance to do it all over again. I couldn't find an answer. Since it had already happened, I could only accept it. In the future, I would eventually return to my hometown. All these people, all these events. They would be etched in my memory. Some would be remembered forever. Others, I would only remember those moments.